Yo, what's poppin' everybody? This is Saber Finder 4 and we are ready for a brand new deck profile in Standard. Today I'm going to show you guys a very unique deck. I don't think anybody tried to showcase this, but I could be wrong. But it's definitely something rare. You won't see this all the time. And it is going to be this Crobat VMAX. I'm going to try and make it work. So Crobat V is a very popular Pokemon, and it's mostly used for its Dark Acid ability, played in 1s and 2s and 3s, I guess, in different decks, and 4s in Eternatus. Because with this ability, you play it down, you draw until you have 6 cards. It is an amazing effect. It's basically Shaman EX. You can gain the effect once per turn, and it's a fantastic consistency card. Now, stat-wise, it's nothing really spectacular, but that's the case with a lot of these support Pokemon. So the concept of using Crobat V as a Pokemon that's an attacker as opposed to just Dark Acid, it's kind of crazy. But this guy does get a VMAX, this Crobat VMAX card right here. Now when you look at this card, it leaves a lot to be desired in a bunch of places. It only has 300 HP, not even 320. It just has 300 HP. You know, even with this low HP for a VMAX, it doesn't get free retreat, which I think it should have had. And you look at Max Cutter, just does 180 for 3. Very weak. Should have done at least 200 or even 210 for the cost and being a VMAX compared to what other VMAXs are capable of. But it does have this Stealth Poison attack. It does 70 for 2, and the active Pokemon is poisoned. And then you switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So it's basically the same thing as Venomous Fang from its regular form, the regular V, but it also forces you to switch. So it's basically a hit and switch Pokemon as we refer to them, or as I refer to them anyway. Now, this is a pretty powerful tactic. It's proved itself in the past. Hitting and then switching your attacker to a wall Pokemon or a decoy Pokemon. In the case of Lily's Pokédoll and this guy right here, it's going to be a strong tactic. It has weaknesses and it has ways your opponent can negate your sort of strategy, play around your strategy. But it is a strong tactic. Oops, wrong Pokemon. The Stealth Poison attack. So this is what we're going to try and do with this deck. I'm going to hit and switch and then promote decoy Pokemon. Just like the old Donphan deck from Plasma Storm and the Gengar deck from Phantom Forces, Gengar without the Mega Gengar. Other tactics in the past like this, other Pokemon, Hitmonchan also does this for Team Up. I mean, it's a common tactic. So, shout out to Alpha Trinity Card Games, by the way, I can't forget, for hooking me up with 2 of these Crobat Vs, the shiny ones, and the VMAXs, and giving me a lot of other codes as well. These 2 I got on my own. But yeah, this is going to be the deck. So for our Pokemon, we're going to max out the Crobat V. It's going to be great. Since, you know, Crobat VMAX, our main Pokemon, its pre-evolution, Crobat V is an amazing support Pokemon. It gives us a little bit of an extra edge. You know, it makes the deck naturally consistent. You know, you got the Crobat Vs anyway. For draw, you have them as your main Pokemon. It just works out perfectly. So, for Crobat V, max it out. Then I've got 2 Crobat VMAX. Maybe 3 is a bit more safe, but I just have 2. Plus, space is a big issue for this deck. Most of the time, you want to get at least 1 out, and then it's not supposed to die quickly because you're supposed to conserve it, hit and switch, keep it in the back, and then eventually you should see the other one from the prizes, or recover it back with Lana's Fishing Rod, we're going to look at later. But this is going to be our main Pokemon, so 4 and 2. Then I've got some support Pokemon, which are a necessity for this deck. The main one is going to be, well, the main one is actually an item, is Lily's Pokédoll. Naturally, this is a decoy Pokemon. Normally, you wouldn't see me run this card with a Miracle. I hate this card because it's used in stall control decks, deck out decks, and shit strategies. But it is a natural card to use in this sort of hit and switch deck. We're going to promote this. If your opponent can't target our bench or pull our Pokemon, then they have to waste their turn attack Lily's Pokédoll, which isn't going to give a prize. If you leave it there, they don't attack whatever, and you want to attack, you can just put it in your deck with its effect, and it's actually quite good. It gives you that little bit of an extra benefit compared to Robo Substitute. In Expanded, we could use this and Robo Substitute, and this deck becomes even better probably. It has a lot of tools and resources it can use and expand it that will make it better. But in standard, we just have Lily's Polka Doll. After Lily's Polka Doll, the main Pokemon, actual Pokemon you're probably going to promote him with is this Galarian Stunfisk. Now, there's a bunch of different wall Pokemon, decoy Pokemon that you can use for this deck, but I think this one is the best one. With Snap Trap, if this guy is active and he's damaged by an opponent's attack, damaged, not just KO'd, so if they don't KO it, you're going to discard even more energies. You discard an energy card from the attacking Pokemon. So this is pretty sweet. Pairing this up with Crush and Hammers and a bunch of other energy removal tactics, then you're going to frustrate your opponent, and this is what this deck is going to try and do. Make their life difficult, mess with their energies, mess with their resources, force them to sort of make bad plays, and hit our decoy Pokemon. And if they're struggling with energies and they're struggling to attack, then the poison damage and the 70 damage, wrong Pokemon again. This guy looks so similar. As they're struggling, eventually the 70 damage and the poison damage is going to add up. And we can even use Max Cutter eventually too. I know I said it's not great, but it's a direct damage attack, no condition. It can come up, we can't use it. Alright, so this is the point of this Stunfisk. There's another Stunfisk that does 30 extra damage, 3 damage counters when they attack it, but energy discarding is much better, I think. So we're going to go with this guy. 120 HP, decent little basic Pokemon. If they can't get the 1-hit KO on it, it's even worse, but I would say most of the time the best attackers are going to be able to kill this guy, but it's going to do his job. Next up, we got one Zamazenta V. This card is fantastic in this deck. One of this guy is a must, I think. With Dauntless Shield, you prevent all damage under this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon VMAXs. So VMAXs are the popular thing, the it thing, rulebox Pokemon of our era right now. A lot of powerful Pokemon are VMAXs and decks are based around them. This guy's going to stop them, so he's a natural wall you can promote, and then they just got to play around it. Of course, there's the new Stadium Path to the Peak is going to negate this guy's ability, so we got to account for that, but I will account for that shortly. Still an amazing Pokemon. One copy is enough. He could get prized, but we can't really afford to put 2, but you can try and put 2 if you want to. 1 does the job. A lot of the times we won't even be using it. It's just Lily's Polka Doll that's going to get promoted. And then for the final Pokemon, I have one Mew with Bench Barrier. This card is important and essential, I would say, because of the Bench Barrier. One of the main ways our opponent can sort of play around our tactic is sniping and just spreading damage on the bench. Targeting Crobat VMAX, targeting everybody else. This guy doesn't work if he's not active. Mew at the very least is gonna force them to target this guy first and kill it, pull it. Or if they can't do that, they can't really do much, and they're forced to play in your strategy basically. The annoying thing is that everybody's using the Inteleon that spreads damage nowadays. I mean, I get it, it's a great card. It's basically the side of IGX, pretty much. That's faster. But yeah, 3 effects on this. It dies, give your opponent an easy prize, but it's still good. I think it's important to run against Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX and just sniping in general. So we got to keep it around. And these are all going to be all of the Pokemon. I think it must be like 10 basics. I could be wrong. I had it built differently with a bunch of other Pokemon, but had to be dropped. And for the trainers, some standard stuff. Max out the Quick Ball. Important to fetch our Crobats, draw cards, set up, and fetch our additional Pokemon. So you max this out. I do 2 Evolution and Sense. We only have 2 targets, but you gotta see the Crobat VMAX. You just have to. If you don't see it, you can't really attack, hit and switch, and use this deck how it's meant to be. How it's meant to be used. So getting the Crobat VMAX is important. So that's why I do 2 of these. And if other one is dead, we can just discard it, not use it. It is what it is. It's a small price to pay. Then I've got some energy gathering, energy searching, energy spinner. Get some basic darkness energies. Make sure we get our attachments every turn so Crobat can attack on time, quick. I don't want to miss attachments. And then we got 1 Poke Gear. Search me some supporters. We still need supporters, even with 4 Crobats. Double switch. Switching cards are important. I guess I'm going to talk about them later, but double switch. Got the tool scrapper, 1-of, good tech. Get rid of our opponent's tools. I already touched upon the crushing hammers. We max these out. Hopefully you get some heads. Another card that I think isn't good in a format. I think this card has outlived its position. I don't know why they keep printing it, but I guess they think it's a good card to have around. The effect is just too great. I mean, it's a coin flip. You could get tails, but what you lose if you get tails versus what you gain when you get heads is worth the risk most of the time. Especially if you have supporters like Marnie and ways to draw cards. It's like you've lost nothing. And if you get the heads, you've discarded energy, your valuable attachment your opponent gets. So you gotta run it. Makes sense in this deck. And I think it's pretty broken as always. I also hate this card most of the time. Alright. And 2 fan of waves 2. So this is our enhanced hammer of the standard format right now. It's a rabbit's rank card. It's definitely a much weaker animal compared to enhanced hammer because it puts the special energy back in the deck. But it's the best card we have for the job, and it is energy removal too to an extent. So I'll run 2 of these. Some decks won't care about it, so it's going to be another card that's kind of dead. But against decks that do use a lot of special energies, which are a lot in the format, it's going to be good obviously as well. So 2 of this, you can do 1 if you want. Maybe not run it at all, but I think at least 1 you should run. I do 2 in this case. And then we got the Lana's Fishing Rod, my recovery card for the deck. I decided to go with this as opposed to Ordinary Rod, even though sometimes Ordinary Rod would be handy because it gives me the chance to recover a tool as well, and tools can be important in this deck. Okay, I have a bunch of them, you guys are going to see. Our main Pokemon shouldn't really be dying if you're effectively putting them on the bench and your opponent can't hit them. These guys, you're not really going to need more than 4. Sometimes 4 is even going to be overkill. And I guess if we need to, we can put Zamazenta back in the deck. Mew. You can do Ordinary Rod if you want, but Lana's Fishing Rod is the choice for me for this deck. Alright. And then, I guess the last things, talk about the tools. We do 3 air balloons. Air balloons with the switch are important because in this hit and switch strategies, we promote Pokemon like this and this guy. They don't have free retreat, they have big retreats, so you gotta move them out of the way. It's not good as good as Float Stone. So if your opponent plays that Stadium, the Galar Mine, then this card is dead, basically, is useless. But that's why we have Switch. We also have the Bird Keeper as well. So a few other methods. I wish I had Guzma too, but we gotta do what we gotta do, run what we can run, right? So Air Balloon is the best card. You gotta run at least 3. Attach them to your guys, and most of the time they should work. Get your dudes out of the way. This guy's probably going to be dying 1 shot. This guy's meant to live. Your opponent won't be able to damage him. You put him against VMAXs. And then you can move him out of the way and attack with Crobat VMAX. Rinse and repeat. And then for our other tool, I have this Rugged Helmet. Now this is something that we're usually going to be attaching on Crobat V/VMAX. If they do attack Crobat, then this becomes like an energy removal card too. It doesn't go to the discard pile, it goes into the hand, but it's like a crushing hammer in a way too. 1 energy goes into the hand. Now if they only have 1 energy, it actually takes priority over this guy, so you probably don't want to attach it to this guy, because otherwise you lose this guy's ability. You should always attach it to Crobat, since the other guys are supposed to move out of the way. And maybe this, but not really, because if they don't attack it, then you lose the card if you go back in the deck with Clefairy. Anyway. And these are the items. I don't think I missed anything. Last thing to talk about is the Stadium of Choice and the supporters. Stadium of Choice is going to be Chaotic Swell. Now 3 is kind of overkill. I'm a bit surprised I kept it at 3 for so long. But the thing is that Path to the Peak is annoying, especially when they play it down immediately. Then you can't use Crobat V to draw. So if you see at least one of these, you can fight back. Get rid of your opponent's stadiums. Make sure this stays. It's another answer to Galar Mine, and just an answer to any stadium as well. And with 3, we can just play it down immediately. We don't have to worry about them playing a stadium first and be more conservative. Yeah, with 3 of them, even if you play it down, it's gonna outlast the other stadiums because of its effect, of course. So I do 3. You can do 2 if you want. I wouldn't be bad to do 2, but I do 3 for now. And then the supporters, we got some standard stuff like the 3 Marnie. You gotta run it, Disruption and Solid Draw. The 1 Skyla is always a card I like in my decks. Get something specific. We got the 1 Boss Orders to win games. And then I've got, where are you? There's no Professor Magnolia, whatever. Because I don't want to be discarding my resources at all. If you want, you can do 1, but instead, we do some different supporters. Like I've got the double Bird Keeper here. This is a solid to draw 3 and switching outlet. Switch and draw 3, which is good. Helps me out a lot. When you don't have a air balloon, you don't have a switch, you can just use this. If you force to start with Crobat, that's something nice you can use. Gets you out of a lot of trouble. So 2 copies is pretty solid. Then I've got the 1 Sonya, or Sonia. This card is also nice in this deck. It's a way to gather basic energies and get basic Pokemon too. So in the early game, since we have so many Crobats in this deck, it's nice to just grab a Crobat, grab another Pokemon, thin your hand, play a few cards, and then draw cards with Crobat as you're guaranteed setting up your Pokemon on the bench too. So it's quite nice. So 1 copy is good. And you can also get energies too. I found out the hard way that this isn't actually like Roseanne's Research, the old card that was good. You either get 2 Pokemon or 2 energies. You can't get 1 of each, which I think is a missed opportunity. I mean, this card wouldn't be that amazing even if it had Roseanne's effect these days. But like this, it makes it a bit weaker too, which I don't like. I wish it was you could grab 1 of each. It would have been better. But it's a small price to pay. It still gets the job done. It still gets the job done. God damn it. Alright. And then the last supporter, we have 1 Cheryl too. So Cheryl, she's basically here as a way to save the Crobats if they sustain damage, if anything goes wrong. Heal all the damage, discard the energies. It's not really a big cost. We don't have a way to really save the energies. We just move them around with Weavile or whatever. But I got 10. The point is that we're just going to get a bigger benefit than the drawback of losing 2 energies. You probably want to try it when only 1 Crobat is hurt, and then you can attack with the other Crobat, or he's almost ready to go. Like Crobat V hasn't evolved. The point is this, sometimes you do got to heal the Crobat, and this is an effective method. Sort of negates your opponent's attacks in a way. And save yourself from losing Crobat or just losing the game, giving away 3 prizes. The thing is, this guy, I mean, he does leave a lot to be desired with its stats. 300 HP, it ain't good, especially when you're going to have 1 retreat. It should have been free. It should have been like 310 HP at least with free retreat. If you're not going to have like 320 or more. But it is what it is. Okay. And energies, we do 8 darkness energies and then 2 weakness energies. Crobat does have a somewhat problematic weakness to fighting. So against Rapid Strike, Urshifu, Single Strike, Urshifu even, and other fighters, it's going to suck. There's also the Galarian Zapdos, which people need to be wary of, I would say. Hitting any fighting weak Pokemon easily for 1 energy. So weakness energy might help a little bit with that. Can't really afford to do more, and there isn't really any other special energy to run in this deck anyway. So this is the deck, guys. So some of its benefits. Obviously, the Psychic deck, Shadow Rider Calyrex, is pretty popular, and we got the weakness against that deck, so it's pretty sweet. You can even just do Max Cutter and get a 1-hit knockout because of the weakness, so it's nice. That's one benefit. Other decks that don't really run a lot of Boss's Orders waste the spread, waste the snipe, you're gonna have a good time if you don't brick or if you set up effectively, so that's nice. But it is gonna have a problem against decks that use boss's orders all day, can easily recover it back. And I mean, everybody is running the what's it called, Inteleon that spreads damage. So I played against it quite a bit. I mean, it's not really. I don't want to say that it really fucks us up. It fucks up Mew, that's for sure. It definitely fucks up Mew. But it is kind of annoying. It is an annoying effect. They can do hit target Crobat even when it's on the bench, and then soften it up, use the boss orders at the same time. It's not necessarily a completely pretty solution on their part, but it's not a card that, you know, it's favorable for Crobat either. So I don't want to say that it completely fucks us up, but it's not going to make our life easy, that's for sure. But most standard matchups should be kind of favorable with this deck. I don't think I played against Eternatus with this deck, so I don't know exactly how that matchup would go. I would imagine they're just set up and then use boss's orders and kill the Crobat VMAX at the right time, get that one-hit knockout or something. So that probably isn't going to be pretty, but they don't run the Inteleon in that deck, so I guess you got that. And I don't know, it just depends on boss's orders, to be honest. I mean, you want to hope they got to discard one early, they can't recover them, or they can't really get the job done with them. And if they're just forced to play around in your hand, they can't get around this guy, they can't get around this Pokédoll, and of course we're gonna make their life harder anyway with Crush and Hammer. Then it is a pretty solid deck. It's not the easiest deck to play. I don't want to say the easiest deck to work because it can work, but it's not an easy deck to play. You can't make misplays at all with this deck. You gotta do everything right, attach the energies at the right time. Sometimes you're gonna have some tough decisions to make. It kind of seems vague when I say it like this, but if you use a deck like this, you know how it is. Especially because it's a different animal. Crobat VMAX, if it dies, it gives 3 prizes. It also works out having this large HP being a VMAX, meaning that they can't really get rid of it easy at the same time. But it can become a liability. You just got to use it correctly and get a bit lucky, of course, too. You always need a little bit of luck. Anyway, I'm going to show you guys matches, as I always do with this deck. Hope you guys look forward to it. I don't know if anybody tried to use this Crobat VMAX in Standard, so look forward to it. Sabro94, subscribe, leave a like, share this video with your friends, and thank you guys for watching as always. Sabro94, we'll say, yeah.